The tabloids will pay big bucks for dirty stories. Cutting Edge reveals the folk who'll kiss and sell in half an hour, and that's after Deals on Wheels.
Hello and welcome to Deals on Wheels, the show that guides you through the pitfalls of buying and selling a second-hand car.
So Mike, what's on the show this week?
Well, we go from the sublime to the faintly ridiculous. Rich and I find ourselves in France searching for that long-forgotten treasure, the Citroen H-Van. The Morris Minor makes a welcome return to Deals.
As far as the law is concerned, it will do 70 miles an hour.
And I get to play with the Sierra Cosworth. Ha-ha!
But first, a gentleman's motorbike.
The Yamaha XS 1100 was arguably one of the best bikes of its time. With 4 times as much power to weight ratio than a Pontiac Trans Am, this is what every speed crazed, two-wheeled nutter on the block wanted. However, bike technology has moved on a lot in the last 20 years, and 95 brake horsepower doesn't seem that earth-shattering anymore, although you can still do this with it. Nigel wants to sell his XS and put his biking past behind him, so it's time to hang up his boots.
Hello, I'm Melanie.
And I'm Nigel, and this is my Yamaha XS 1100 motorcycle, which is absolutely gorgeous, and it's up for sale. You get on this bike and it feels lovely, it feels solid, everything seems to work at your fingertips. It's real good fun to ride. The bike's 21 years old, it was built in 1978, and this in its heyday was an R1. It was the fastest bike, it was, you know, the sleekest machine, it was the one that everybody wanted. We live in North Lincolnshire together, and for a living we play in a duo. We play the working men's clubs around the country, or pubs, or whatever, RAF bases. We'll play anywhere that pays the money. Yeah, as long as we're getting paid. And we enjoy ourselves, it's tremendous.
This is our junk room. This is where we put everything when we finish decorating the remnants of paint and wallpaper.
But this is why I'm selling the bike, so that we've got some money to finish doing the lounge, because it needs a lot of money. It needs wall lights, wallpaper, it needs all the
a lot of time as well, and
yeah,
ceiling and things.
And I'm
but
very expensive. Having 3 children is always preying on my mind when I'm out on the bike. You know, what's going to happen, what's going to be around the next corner. So, but I am a little upset because I've had a lot of fun on the bike. But at the end of the day, I'm 29 years old. Don't look it, but I am. And you know, I'm growing up and got other things to do. The bike's up for sale for £1,595. I'm prepared to come as low as £1,500 to the right buyer. I've spent a lot of time and a lot of money on the bike, so really I don't want to come any lower than that. But the bottom line is, the bike's got to be sold.
The combination of 95 brake horsepower and £550 in a somewhat unpredictable chassis make the XS a terrible bike to control in the wet, particularly as the disc brakes are not at their best in such conditions. Run your finger along the edge. If it feels raised or warped, then they need replacing. Also, be wary of the bike that's got fancy graphics. Unscrupulous people will put them on there to cover up previous signs of accident damage.
While checking the condition of the tyres, look at the alloy wheels. These are easily buckled and chipped, and they cost a lot of money to put right. You also want to check the condition of the front forks. And you do that by looking at their alignment. Now, any small problems will be detectable on a road test, but bigger issues should be visible from up here. And if there is a problem, bear in mind it's likely to cost up to half the value of the bike to put right. Now, Nigel's is in very good condition. It's quite a rarity. I reckon it's worth £1,450.
They're difficult bikes to gauge the prices from because a lot of them have been modified, but I quite like his bike. It's been lovingly restored and I wouldn't mind it for myself. And I reckon it's worth every penny of 1,600 quid. Let's see what happens.
Had some good news. There's a guy on the Isle of Wight who's very interested in buying the bike. Sent me a £100 deposit to secure the bike, to withdraw it from sale, which is cool. We're off down to Portsmouth to let him see the bike, 'cause we've got a gig down there, and hopefully I'll come home and the bike will be sold.
My name's Darren Kershaw. I come from St Helens on the Isle of Wight, and I've come over to meet Nigel to have a look at his motorbike that I'm interested in buying. Having a look at that. No, you can put it back on, don't like it.
Tell you, it's a lovely, lovely machine.
What are you selling it for then?
Right.
Take your wife
and
out
I'll
on
tell
it.
you why. I'll tell you why price it's up for, and I'll tell you why I'm selling it for that. Right, I put it up for 18.95. It's been up for 1,900 quid in Bike Mart.
I've been following it in the paper.
It's been waiting.
Of course I
Waited
have,
last month and thought, hey, don't come down this month.
This is time to buy, isn't it?
Exactly, and it's the worst time to sell. I think Darren's going to drive a hard bargain with the price. I think he's looking to pay something really ridiculous, like £1,200–1,300. I think that's what he's going to try and get it for, and anything that comes below 15, I'll laugh, I'll load it back in the trailer and I'll go home. Bye-bye, bike.
You don't want to part with that, do you?
No, I don't.
Yeah, it rides nice. Corners well. The gearbox is very, very clunky, but like I say, they're renowned for it. Yeah, I'd like to make you an offer for it.
Right.
Well, the top book price in a number of books I've looked at for these is 1,400.
Right.
And I'd like to make you an offer of 13.
The lowest I can accept on the bike is 15.
Right.
I cannot budge a penny past £1,500. I know what you're saying about book price, and when it comes to book price, I really don't give a monkeys. I'm passionate about the bike, and it's worth that to me.
Well, I'm prepared to give you 1,400, which is top book price. And I appreciate you've done a lot of work to it.
Yeah. £1,500, not a penny less.
Well, I'll tell you what, because of what you've done, you've come down.
I would say it's cost us 50–60 quid to, yeah.
I'll give you the 1,500.
That's very kind.
That's brilliant.
All right.
Yeah.
Check on it, nice one. Excellent.
Yeah, it's worth it, but you know, you've got to try your luck, haven't you?
Certainly have. Is it all there?
£1,300.
So we've got 1,400, and Darren's going to send us a cheque for £100. Right, man. £1,500. Like I say, it was never meant to get sold. I didn't do it to sell it. I did it because I wanted a lovely looking bike, and it was a lovely looking bike.
You did have one.
And I've sold it to a guy who thinks it's lovely.
That's nice.
Nigel stuck to his guns. He was like a dog with a bone. And again, it proves that if you play hardball, they always come running in the end.
Now then, Mike, let's show the good people at home what we bought in France.
If you want to buy the fantastic BMW M3, then you have to go to Germany. If you want to buy the Lancia Delta Integrale, then you're going to have to go to Italy. But what can you buy in France?
Well, here you can buy that classic load carrier, the original Citroen H-Van.
Come on, Rich, chop chop.
It may not look like it now, but the H-Van was at the cutting edge of technology when it first appeared in 1948. It was the first commercial vehicle to have front-wheel drive and a sliding load bay door, which means this humble little workhorse is actually a bit of a motoring pioneer. As for that weird bodywork, the design was inspired by the German Junkers aircraft. Like the plane, the van used corrugated panels to add strength to poor quality steel. The aim of our trip to France was to pick one up for less than £2,000. Mike's job was to buy something to put in the back of the van to then sell back in Blighty to cover the cost of the trip. So with £300 in his pocket, off Mikey went. Now, it may look as if the H-Van is made of old baking trays, but make no mistake, this is a very strong and reliable machine that's a perfectly usable utility even today. Having said that, there are 4 key areas to look out for when buying an H-Van. First of all, check for serious rust around the headlight area, because to replace these 2 panels on either side could mean a bill adding up to half the value of the van. If you come across any rust in these side panels, it's not too much of a worry. You can get them second-hand, and any repairs are going to be easy and quite localised. What's more serious is any rust in this rear tail panel, particularly below the rear window. Incredibly, these panels cost £500 a time to replace, unless you're lucky enough to find a second-hand one. Obviously, it's very important to check the condition of the chassis on one of these, but that's simple enough because it's just a box section that runs around the perimeter of the van. As for the interior, it's incredibly simple, but do bear in mind that if you're going to import an H-Van made after '65, it will need seat belts fitted, and they're anchored just here, and it will also need windscreen washers, and this one hasn't got either. When you finally get your hands on one you're interested in buying, there are two golden rules. First, always take cash. French francs please, no euros, no pounds.
Bit of rust here, chap.
Secondly, make sure it's got all its paperwork. It'll want a control technique, the French MOT, you'll want the carte grise, the French registration document, and you'll want to ensure it's got a vignette, or road tax, displayed on its windscreen. Patrick, il est un peu fatigué, je pense.
Oui, mais il est très correct, restaurable.
20 000.
20 000 francs. Ouais.
He wants $2 for this.
C'est pas possible.
I need to buy cheese. It's as simple as that. I've got no choice. I need to buy cheese.
Serré à droite.
Oh, oui.
Ça, c'est en France.
Yes, of course. Important to drive on the right, yes.
Okay, just them three.
Fin du marché.
Nice rustic. Just upon the beat. Ah, peu fair.
850. 850.
What does that mean?
Oh, 800.
8? What, you're just going to take the £7 off?
Prenez-vous une offre, peut-être.
Ouais, je vous ai fait une offre, 20 000.
20 000, non, bon, non. J'ai donné vous.
Ouais.
18 000.
C'est pas possible.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Merci.
Merci, monsieur.
Merci beaucoup.
D'accord, avec 19 000 avec une porte en plus.
Ok,
C'est ok?
pour 19 000. 19 000, ok?
19 000. C'est ok?
Bon, on peut faire. Ok, merci, merci.
Almighty. What on earth is this, Richard?
It's an H-Van.
Mate, this is a shed. This is a... Look at the door, for Christ.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Look at the stuff. Look what's coming out of it.
No, you don't understand.
It's a disaster.
No,
Richard, and I said, get a van. Look, this has got glass in it. It's like an ambulance.
Localised repairs.
It's dreadful. This is a disaster.
Oh, what have you bought?
Cheese, Richard. I bought some great cheese because it is the only way forward for me, really. I've got some Pont l'Evêque. I've got some...
£300 on this?
300 quid, yeah. Well, how much was that?
This was £1,900.
£1,900, Richard. I don't believe... It's 1,900 quid on this. You are joking, surely.
It's only 5 times as much as the cheese, isn't it?
And what the hell is this, Richard? What is going on?
It's a door.
Why have we need a
I've
door,
got a rusty
Richard?
door I got as part of the deal.
I can't believe you bought this. It's a wreck. It's rotten as sin, and you can drive it. You can't even get it into gear.
It's perfectly all right.
It's not, Rich. We've wasted the money. It's useless. It's a mess, mate. Look at it. Listen. Oh, my giddy aunt.
Find out how we get on selling our jewel
Old shed.
next week, and join us after the break for more tales from the hard shoulder.
If you want to know more about buying classic cars like the Citroen H-Van or how to tell a good Sierra Cosworth from a bad one, then visit our website at www.4car.co.uk for all the latest news.
This is my old kitchen, and I'm bored with it. This is Ronseal Paint and Grain. It's called Paint and Grain because all you do is paint on the base coat, slap on the top coat, comb, and grain. Easy. And it works on most surfaces. So, if you fancy a change, use Ronseal Paint and Grain. It does exactly what it says on the tin.
Could this be the smoothest way to advertise John Smith's Extra Smooth? No.
tale with a twist. A turning point. A tree in chains. A house falling. A vault sealed for 2 centuries. A ride that ends on the other side. Hex just on Earth at Alton Towers.
The Grim Tooth Fairy Tales.
Okay, son, what do tooth fairies hate?
Toothbrushes and toothpaste and Listerine.
Language! Go on, son. Eat it!
They rock hard, Dad.
Listerine kills the bacteria between your teeth which brushing may miss.
And Listerine doesn't just get between the teeth.
No, Dad?
It gets right up my nose as well.
For healthier teeth and gums, when brushing starts, Listerine finishes.
Not looking your best. It could be your bed's fault if it's 10 years old or more. So buy a new bed where you see this sign.
How do you choose an internet service provider when there are so many out there with weird and wonderful names? It's easy. You pick one with a name you know and trust. A name like BT, for the chance to win £1 million and a simple, easy way to get online. Visit www.btinternet.com.
Bacardi, lime, soda, Regal.
Visit our website at www.4car.co.uk and read our exclusive feature test on Audi's new A2 hatchback. But first, the natty little Morris Traveller.
Incredibly, the Morris Minor originally came out in 1948, and the Traveller version didn't go out of production until 1971. Now, despite leisurely performance, we're talking 0 to 60 in half a minute. There's ample here for pottering around the village and for country life generally, really. Nigel has got quite a large collection of cars, and understandably he can't drive them all at once. So he's decided to sell his early Morris Minor Traveller. And I think it's going to be a very good buy for someone, probably an enthusiast.
Hi, I'm Nigel. This is my Morris Minor split-screen Traveller. It's one of a collection of about 40 to 50 cars I own. I'm selling it really because it never gets used. Been sitting around for 2 or 3 years, and I think it's time for it to go. I've owned it about 9 years. It was one of 3 that a gypsy was trying to sell, with a bit of history on it. In total, there were about 55 to 60 left. This is one of the few honest, unrestored early examples. If you love the car, you look after it. I don't love the car, and it's showing the neglect. It's 35 years old. It is the original paint, and it really does need a respray. But the wood sound could do with a revarnish. A little bit of welding needed doing at the back here, which I'm going to do for the MOT. But apart from that, it's a fairly sound old car. My father was car crazy when I was young. We used to work on cars together and rebuild them, and you find that if you do it right, you can actually run them for free or make a small profit. I'm a car collector by hobby, not by profession. I've got a collection of about 30 to 40 cars, plus a large collection of motorbikes. I'm not going to tell you exactly where we are because I don't want other people up here, but we're at one of my barns, the short-term store barn. There are about 10 cars in here at the moment. Here's my favourite old Fiat. Here's the old 1930s Flying 9, complete with blackout lights. Morris Oxford, horrible old lump. Ferrari, 6 Series, and a standard 10.
Fascinating to see how anybody can park things as closely as he does.
I feel like a 4-year-old. Nim, nim, nim. Vroom, vroom. Right, well, an asking price on this is $17.50. I'm not aiming to come down very much because, as you've seen, I've got a barn full of cars. I suppose I'd negotiate quite hard on the price if anybody pushes me, but we'll have to see how it goes.
One of the most important areas to check out when buying a Morris Minor Traveller is the condition of all this rear-end woodwork. That's because it's structural, and if there's anything wrong with it, the whole lot has to come apart. So get your screwdriver and make sure these joints aren't opening up, and look out for any signs of rot or mould.
Mechanically, parts are still available, but surprisingly expensive. One of the biggest problems you may have, though, are your trunnions. Your trunnions, what are they? Well, you'll find them underneath here. Now, if you neglect these, the threaded ends could wear, they could possibly shear off, and you might just lose a wheel. And then you and your moggy will end up on blocks for a while.
Early, unmolested, unrestored Travellers are rare and desirable things, and I reckon that Nigel will get £1,600 for his.
Listen, they are endearing, but they're slow, they're far too 50s, and they suffer with woodworm. I reckon it's only worth 1,500 quid. Let's see what happens.
Chap coming up from Brighton is Mark Oakley. It's a funny thing, really, but he hasn't actually passed his driving test yet. He told me on the phone he's taking it this week. I've set a ballpark figure in my head of £1,500. I doubt very much whether I'll go below that. But hey, if he waves used fibres under my nose, perhaps I'll get magnetised by him. Hello, Mark.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you
too.
too.
Have a good journey up.
Not bad at all.
Before we start talking about it, should we go for a test drive?
Yep, love to. How far can it go? I'm not asking you to do it, but I mean, just roughly.
As far as the law is concerned, it will do 70 miles an hour. But it will
do that.
Oh yeah, oh, hang on, we'll go for it. Hang on a minute. It'll get there. There you go, that's 70. Here's a logbook. You'll find the numbers match. There's the MOT.
How many owners has it had?
Oh, I'll tell you there.
Yeah.
Not very many.
Is it?
No,
but is there anything that's been changed?
The brake pipes, I think we did a couple of them, but that's about all it's needed.
Doesn't look bad at all. Well, to get to figures, would you set 1,500?
Not really. I'll go for 16. I'll go for 16 and meet you halfway.
Yeah, I'm up for that. As you know, I don't drive yet. I'm going to take my test tomorrow.
If you're happy with £1,600, give me your address and tell me when you want it down. I'll bring it down. I'll bring it down today if you want it.
Good deal.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You.
If I give you that, if you don't mind counting it, just so I don't feel guilty if I shortchange you. I think I've got a bargain. Think I've done well. Think you're relatively happy? You might see
Christmas! Except it isn't.
How good to see a bit of honesty for a change. You know, sometimes it really pays to be nice if you're going to clinch the deal. Now, Mike, what on earth is this? It's the motoring equivalent of a shiny tracksuit or something.
Ignore what he says. This, after many years of suffering in the hands of insurers, is a cracking car. Check this out. There is one car that single-handedly defined the 80s, not only for its blinding performance, but also for the tragic effect it had on insurance premiums. The Ford Sierra Cosworth was the most stolen car of its time and put insurance premiums through the roof. But thankfully, all that's behind us, and now you too can own a Ford Sierra Cosworth without paying those massive premiums. Now this is an original Cosworth. Ah! It puts out 204 brake horsepower, which isn't much for an engine with this kind of history. But bear in mind, back in 1986, this car had a top speed of 145 miles an hour and would go from 0 to 60 in an eye-watering 6.2 seconds. What do you think? I want one! The shell was based on the original classic three-door Sierra, retaining the basic 2 rear side windows and 2 front door layouts. The dashboard was taken from the American XR4 Ti Sierra, which does look a bit dated today. The Sierra Cosworth was launched in 1986 and would have cost around £16,000. Back then, you could have bought a one-bedroom house for that. You just couldn't keep hold of them at the time. In fact, you just weren't keeping up with the Joneses if you woke up in the morning and it was still there. Hey! Hey, come back! Come back! Now it's all changed. You can get a good insurance deal even if you're 21. like me. And I'm sure you lot who wanted one over 10 years ago are going to be at least over 25 now, so insurance is going to be cheaper anyway. So what you got to look out for? Well, for starters, you want to make sure it ain't been nicked. Believe you me, there's a few ringers out there. And for that, you need to check the chassis number, which is under this flap down by the driver's seat. Have a feel round for any dodgy weld marks. You can also check the alloy wheels right here and tyres. These are the original alloys and these are the original tyres, and you can't buy these anymore. So don't be put off by aftermarket alloys, because the chances are if you buy a Cosworth with these wheels on them, you'll have to change your tyres anyway. Right, don't let your eye line be distracted by this big red engine. No, there's a lot more important things to worry about under here, namely accident damage. You want to check along the inner wings and along these inner panels for any signs of bent metal or dents. Also, all Cosworths come with original date stamps on the body panels. You've got one on the boot lid, on the doors, on the bonnet, and even on these wings. And there's one here, and it clearly says 1986, and this is a 1986 original. Right, now we need to get ourselves down by the boot, where you need to pull up the carpets and check for any signs of accident damage down in both corners, along the floor pan, and especially around the spare wheel well. Also, while you're here, you can check the spare tyre and make sure the tools are there. Many Cosworths may have been modified. You want to ask the owner if he's got any paperwork to substantiate it. Who done it, when was it done and why, because it may push up the insurance premiums. Now remember, these babies are there to be driven hard and not wrapped up in cotton wool. They may have been chased by the police, they may have a dent here or there, but don't let that put you off buying one. So what are they worth? Well, for an old smoker, expect to pay between £6,000 and £8,000. But for one as beautiful as this, you should pay up to £15,000. And for that, I guarantee you'll get the best Cosworth money can buy. Oh no, not again! Oh, come back, come on! Come back, please! Come back my car, please!
I have to hand it to you, Mike. They're not so bad.
Do you know what? It's nice to have you on my side for a change. Well, that's it for this week, folks. Join us next week for more Deals on Wheels. Bye-bye. Now, Richard, it's H-Van of yours. I've got to argue, mate. That is the worst shed.
Your cheese ruined this van.
Look, what do you mean ruined it? It's just
it was fine.
It's an ambulance. It's rubbish.
For this week's stories, great bargains and a fully interactive experience, go to the Deals on Wheels website. It's at 4car.co.uk.